So one of my challenges with one of my little home automation projects is my lights out in front of the garage. So I've got two lights out there, and in order to have them turn themselves on and off when I'm not here, I used some smart light bulbs. And they work okay up into a point. These were made by Feet Electric. So not exact, well, I mean, it's a name brand, but their support is not all that great when it comes to applications and other tying it in with other systems. So that's been a little bit of a challenge. The second challenge is my router is, at the far end of the house pretty much. And I've had to put a small repeater, internet repeater here in the garage. That's an old Linksys, essentially it's a repeater. So that I could actually connect the light bulbs to the network. And that connection's always been a little bit iffy, maybe a little too far away or getting a signal through the garage door, I'm not sure, but it hasn't worked fantastic, I would say. And it doesn't, this particular brand of light bulb does not work really well in Home Assistant. Now, I found a workaround, I thought. I had it working for a short period of time using a different application for them. But then that didn't work anymore. And I finally gave up with these smart light bulbs out front. And instead, I bought this Kosa K200, I think it is, smart light switch. So this is just a single switch. I don't have a 2 or 3-way switch for these outdoor lights. I have had to, keep a little sticker on here that says always on, because I don't want to turn the power off to those light bulbs. I need the power on, and then I can control them through some application. If the power's turned off here, then I can't do anything with them, and they'll never turn on. And occasionally that light switch gets hit, and the power's shut off, and then they don't work. So I'm going to give this Kosa Smart Wi-Fi light switch a try. Now, I've already got one just inside here that runs there's a light switch for my porch lights, and it works fantastic. I've had no problems with it. And so I think that this will be the answer to my problem out here. And then instead of trying to control light bulbs that are outside, we're just going to have this light switch connected to our router right here in the garage. And everything ought to work really, really sweet. So I'll have a little bit more as I move forward on this light switch change out. All right, so just to be clear, this particular light switch is the HS200. They do make a KS200, and I can't remember what the difference is. I think it works with more things maybe, or maybe it works with less things. This one says it works with Alexa, Google Home, and SmartThings. And the reason I picked this one is because I had already purchased one just like it and had such good success with not only controlling it with a remote app on my phone, but it also worked really well in Home Assistant, and so, which is really what I want it for. So I definitely like this particular brand and model. So I assume I'll have the same great success with this one as I had with the other one. It is important to note that this particular model requires a neutral wire in your setup. So if you don't know what that is, you need to research that a little bit. I'll show you when I go to hook mine up, but you do need a neutral wire with this one. And in the box, essentially it comes with the switch, the wires that we'll need to connect are clearly labeled on the back. It comes with a different light switch cover. So if you were putting this where you used to have an older small light switch or something, you could replace it with this one. Where I'm going to use this, I already have similar size light switches, and it happens to be a double switch, so this will fit in there just fine. And a few wire nuts and some labels for something. I'm not sure exactly why we need to put labels on them, but we will, and a little bit of an instruction sheet. So my first job will be to go see if I can turn the power off out there to that light switch. I might be able to do it hot. We'll see. Take the old light switch out and get ready to put in this new one. And there's our two switches. The one that we're going to replace is this one here. So next up, take these screws out and pull the switch out. All right, so I've got the power shut off over at the box, and I'm getting ready to disconnect the old switch and we'll hook up the new switch. So when we talk about a neutral line, that is this white cable here on the switch, and it's going to get connected to this white wire in my junction box. And then I've got two black wires, and these black wires on the switch are going to get connected to those two black wires. It doesn't matter which one goes where. And then the last thing is we've got a ground wire on the switch, and we've got a ground wire here in the box. So that's pretty simple. Four wires to wire this thing up. So let me see if I can get it connected. Still getting a shock off that dang thing, so I turned off one more switch here. I hope that's it. GFI motor panel, which I know is this outlet, but when I turned it off, the lights in the garage also went off, so hopefully that will keep me from getting shocked. All right, I grabbed my or digital measuring meter, and all right, we're now cold, so we can work on this thing without getting zapped. So the only thing I have to do is I have to get the black wires out of the switch. So they use they're not wrapped around those studs. I got to shove a little something in those two little holes to pop them out. So give me a minute. All right, so we've got the switch all wired in. You can see we've got the green ground wire connected to the bare copper ground wire. We've got the two black wires wired up to the switch, and then the white wire goes to the neutral bundle, and that is exactly what we are looking for. Now you'll notice the light switch itself is flashing, and that's because it's not yet connected to the network. So we will have to set that up shortly, but before we do, I'm going to try to turn on and off the lights real quick. So I can't see them from here. Just heard it click. So let me just see if these lights came on. Now, the last thing I'm going to be doing today, yep, lights on. One of the last things I have to do today is I have to change out these light bulbs. So these are smart light bulbs, and I no longer need them to be smart because the switch itself is going to be doing the the heavy lifting in terms of use. So I'm going to replace those with just standard LED light bulbs after I'm done here in a little bit. So now that we've got it all wired, sometimes the hardest part, believe it or not, is getting the wire bundle back in the box, and I'm going to need 2 hands to do that. So I'm going to put the camera down and come back to you in just a minute. Screw gun would make this job a whole lot faster sometimes. So I've got the switch in. Now I just want to do a quick double check, make sure nothing came loose when I screwed it in. Yep, lights on. Lights are on. Okay, so that's good news. Next we can put the switch cover on, and then we will do our pairing to the network. All right, switch cover is on. And now we can get rid of this sticker because we won't need that anymore. All right, so we've got the switch all ready to go, except we need to hook it up to the Wi-Fi. If you remember, I've got Wi-Fi out here in the garage. Has to be 2.4 gigahertz. It cannot run on a 5 point whatever wireless network. It has to be 2.4. So remember that if you are trying to hook one of these up. And I don't have a screen capture on my iPad, so I'm just going to have to show you with my phone. But essentially, I'm going to go into the Kosa app, which I already have because I have 2 other Kosa devices on my network. And I'm going to add a new device. And it's a smart switch. So I'm going to pick smart switch. Mine's the HS200. Wi-Fi setup. Have I installed it? Yes, I have. Check the light. It's orange and green, which is what it's supposed to be. Connect my phone to your smart switches. I'm not sure what that means. I think I'm already connected. Or am I supposed to connect it to... We'll give it a minute and see if it connects. Sometimes these things make you go to the your Wi-Fi settings, and I think that's what it's probably going to do, and ask us to connect to that device via Wi-Fi. So I go into my settings, my Wi-Fi, and I'm going to look for TP link. Assume it's that one. So I'm now connected to that device. Let's see if it will actually do something. Yep, I believe it did. Okay. So it wants to verify my my Wi-Fi SSID and the password. Remember, this has to be a 2.4 gigahertz network. Doing its thing, hopefully. And I'm going to rename this one so I know what it is. Garage lights. Maybe it should say front garage lights. And we'll say it's on the front porch. It's close enough. Kind of an icon do I want? Almost done. Let's check the firmware, see if there's anything good there. Nope. All right. There's some kind of an auto update feature, which is fine. All right, so now I've just added the new light switch to my Kosa network. So right now it's not part of Home Assistant yet. But I can turn off the lights, which I just did, just using my Kosa app. I also have a second smart switch that turns on some can lights on the front patio or porch. The other thing is a smart plug. So it's a GFI smart plug. My fridge is plugged into that. So I always want to keep that on. And then the second outlet has its own control. I could turn that one on and off individually if I wanted to, but there's nothing plugged into that. All right, I'm going to change out the light bulbs, and then we're going to bring this into Home Assistant. So once we have our physical sensor or device installed, it's time to go back into Home Assistant and finish up setting up the hardware. One interesting thing to get used to in dealing with Home Assistant is that you don't usually access it on the machine that's running it. And that's particularly true if you're running it on a Raspberry Pi, because usually that is running all by itself as the main operating system. So if you recall, my Home Assistant is running on a Linux machine in a virtual box. I could access it using a browser on that machine, but rather than tax it with the different graphical interfaces, I'm simply using my Windows computer, accessing my Home Assistant machine that's running on another computer here in my office. We'll talk a little bit about the address. My address is going to be very unique and different, and we'll talk about why that is at some point. Normally, when you fire up Home Assistant on your whatever machine you're running it on, when it finishes running, it gives you the address, which is typically homeassistant.local:8123. That's the port that Home Assistant uses. Now you see mine's got some of that in there, Home Assistant, but then it's got a bunch of other stuff. There's the 8123 and then some other stuff. Don't worry about that today. That's a topic for another video on a VPN called Tailscale that I like a lot and will share with you. But what's important to know right now is that I have gone into my Home Assistant system. This is just the default dashboard. Pretty much everything that you have shows up in the default dashboard. And then you create your own dashboards later and all that kind of thing. But we're going to go into devices and services. Now I will say that as soon as I hooked up and connected my new smart switch to the Wi-Fi, I came in to check on something last night, and lo and behold, it had already found it, Home Assistant, and I clicked on, yes, I have a new TP-Link HS200, and lo and behold, it installed it. So I was going to show you how to do that today, but it just kind of did it automatically last night, and it works pretty good. We'll be doing some other applications and installations, so I can show you more about it. But this is the kind of page that you will get, depending on the device or sensor, and how many different attributes it has. And it just kind of brought it in here automatically. So now I've got my device. Remember, my smart switch that's going to turn my garage lights on and off for me at some point. I have them here in Home Assistant. Now that's not all we have to do. The second thing that I wanted to do, and I did this morning, is I've been developing this particular dashboard. I saw one similar to it and I liked it, and I thought I'd kind of like this format maybe for my dashboard. So I've got a couple of things. My home screen, I plan to display this when I have visitors, probably on an iPad, so they know my the Wi-Fi code and password here in my house. I like showing the weather down here in Southwest Florida, at least this time of year. It's just absolutely fantastic. So I've got a weather forecast there on the home screen. I've got a page for the climate. So right now I've got my Honeywell thermostat connected, so I can see, what the air handler is doing, or the air conditioning. I can adjust the temperature and do whatever I really want to with my thermostat. I can look at the history to see how much it's running or what the temperature is. So it just so happens I have it programmed to be at 78 most of the day. It drops down to 76 at night when I'm sleeping, and then it comes back up again to 78 and stays there all day again till bedtime. So it's not a lot of interesting history there. I'm still working on a way to try and capture runtime hours, because I think that would be an interesting thing to track on my climate page. I also have, again, the weather forecast, and something that I like to see, because I use this on a couple of settings, is when's the next sunrise and when's the next sunset. And in particular, that comes into play when I'm looking at my lighting, particularly my outdoor lighting. So I've just moved to my lighting page. So this is my, this section right here is for my smart switch that controls a couple of can lights on my front porch. And then this morning I basically duplicated that and added the identical switch and status indicator for my new garage lights. If we come in and edit the dashboard, we can look at what exactly is underneath this button. I could pick an entity, which is Home Assistant's way of saying a device or something. I can give it a name if I want. I can give it an icon if I want. I can turn on and off these little indicators here, show the icon, show the state, show the name. So I just flip that switch and now the preview shows that the garage lights are off, which I knew they were. I don't have any particular interactions except a toggle. So if I'm going to go ahead and save this now, and I'm going to run the dashboard. If I were to click this button, it's going to toggle it one way or the other, either on or off, depending on what the current state is. So we know the lights are off now. If I click the button, boom, they're on. The status indicator shows they're on, and I can turn them back off with just another click. And I could do the same thing with the garage lights. So that is really kind of in simplest terms. And I also have my sunrise, sunset here as well, just because at some point later today, these things are supposed to turn themselves on automatically at sunset. And I'd like to, be able to look at this, and if they're not on, see if Home Assistant has determined that the sun has set yet. These different sun events are based on geographic location. So you put in, your zip code or area, and that's how it knows pretty close, approximately, what time sunrise or sunset is for you. So that's just a little bit on how we set this up. Now, what I haven't done yet for the garage lights is I haven't set up the process of turning themselves on and off at sunrise and sunset. So that's in the automations and scenes part of Home Assistant. So I'm going to click on that. Now let's take a look at what we've got. Turn garage lights off. Now, I used to have, remember I had smart switches or smart light bulbs in there. And that's what these were doing, I believe. Let me see if it says. The reason I can tell this is from the old system is because the to-do says turn the light off, garage left and garage right. So with my old light bulbs, I had two independent entities and I had to act on both of them. With the new switch, the switch itself is the entity that I'm turning on and off, and the light bulbs just happen to go on and off with it. So this is the old thing that I don't need anymore. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete this one, light off at sunset. All right, sunrise, I mean. Let me just double check, make sure it's the same. Yep, left and right. That's kind of my trigger to know if this was the old light bulb process. It was. Let's see what this one says. Yep, that's also. This one, yep, garage left and right, so we can get rid of all of those, however many that was. Now, what I have left is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to recreate these. In fact, we might be able to reuse at least one of them. So my porch lights, they're pretty bright. There's, I think, 3 can lights, R30s. They are LEDs, but they're really bright. So I don't keep those on all night long. But I do have them coming on at sunset. So what I can do here is I've already got a trigger set up when the sun sets. I'm going to add an action. I'm going to act on a device. And then I have to select the device. I'm getting a lot of devices, but it shouldn't be too hard to find it. Front garage lights. Boom. And I want to turn on the front lights along with the porch lights. So they're all going to come on together. And I'm going to save that. I think that's right. Front garage lights. I think that's going to work. Okay. So now I have 2 actions that are going to happen at sunset. And the only reason I'm hesitating a little bit is because this one looks different than this one. And I don't know why. Like, this is a switch, and this says turn on. So I'm going to look at that a little bit later. Okay, my other action that I already have saved is to turn the porch lights off at a certain time. And in this case, at 10:30 p.m. Every day of the week, I'm going to have the lights turn off, the porch lights only. So I can't use this one with the garage lights because I want to keep them on all night long. So instead, I'm going to create an automation, a new automation. I'm going to click on that. Click new or create new. First thing we do is we add a trigger. And in this case, it's time and location. That's where all these are saved. And then in that menu, I want to act on the sun. And in this case, I want sunrise. So I want something to happen at sunrise. And what do I want to happen? That's my action. Well, I want it to do something. Let's see. So I think the last time I said I picked the device when I added the lights to that last one. I'm going to come down here to light, see if it looks any different. Turn off one or more lights. That's what I want. I can choose the device over here. It's neither one of these, and this may be why I don't want to use this one. Those light bulbs were defined as lights. I need a switch. So let's get rid of that one. Add the action. Switch. And this is at sunrise. So I want to turn the lights off at sunrise. So now when I pick device, I have more than one. All right, I've got my kitchen plug, which I don't want to mess with. I have my porch light, which is already programmed, but I have my front garage light switch. So I'll choose that and turn off the front garage lights. And I'll save this action. I'll give it a name so I know what the heck it is. Turn off garage front lights at sunrise. And save. All right, so now if I go back to my automation page, now I have three things, right? I've got turn on all my lights, my outdoor lights at sunset. I am going to modify, I'm going to change this one. In fact, I'm going to delete that one. That's one I added before. I'm going to change it to a switch. And I'm going to turn on the front garage light switch and save. All right, so now it should act just like that one. I don't know that it would have made any difference when it ran, but now they look the same. Okay, so I've got porch or all lights. I want to rename this one if I can. I don't know if I'm not sure if I can. I want to change the name to all front lights on at sunset, but that's not too big of a deal. Settings, name. I'm going to say all exterior lights on at sunset. Okay. So we turn on all the exterior lights at sunset. And what's kind of neat about the sunset automation is I don't have to give it a specific time. So in Indiana, I had 6 exterior lights, and before Home Assistant, I used the native app that came with them, and it did not have a sunrise and sunset function. So that meant I had to give it a specific time to turn the lights off and a specific time to turn the lights off. And the problem with that is in the summertime, I didn't even need them coming on in the mornings in the summer because it got light pretty early, so I didn't even need them on in the mornings. And at night, I didn't need them to turn on until 8:30 at night. But in the wintertime, they needed to be on at 4:30, 5. And I had to adjust the time all the time, I noticed that, holy crap, those are still on, or oh, those haven't turned on yet, and I would have to adjust. With sunrise and sunset options, I can just say, turn them on at sunset, and then it will always adjust for the proper time. Similarly, if you have a time change, daylight savings time change, I used to have to fix my lights turning on and off because of daylight savings time changes. And I don't have to do any of that with this Home Assistant automation that we set. I will mention, just while we're in here, that in addition to sunrise, sunset, there are several other different things that you can do based on the sun. I thought there was in here. I don't see it right this minute. But you can also offset it, either earlier than sunset, later than sunset, earlier than sunrise, later than sunrise by a specific time if for some reason you wanted to do that. Okay, so we are all set here, saved, and we are good to go. Now, this also shows when it was when that particular automation was last triggered. So 21 hours ago, the lights turned on at sunset, and 17 hours ago, the front porch lights turned themselves off at 10:30. This little blue switch over here, basically you can pause them, turn them on and off, disable them if you will. I want all three of those to run, so we will let them run. So that's kind of a quick, look at Home Assistant and setting up some hardware and then setting up an automation. And I'm going to wrap this video up here today because it's getting a little bit long. And over the next few episodes, we'll be doing some other projects and where we will actually go find the software that we need for things that we want to add to Home Assistant. So I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll catch you the next time. Hey Google, turn off the family room lights.